The attacks began to show signs of sadistic intent, and police started to suspect they were dealing with a serial rapist. However, even as the rapes increased in brutality, there were still no definitive links between them. Then, in May of 1990, Bernardo's attacks took an even darker turn when he committed the first known murder. He had already been targeting women for several years, but this new crime, an abduction followed by rape and strangulation, was more calculated and chilling. The victim, a 15-year-old girl, was discovered days later, dead and discarded. This new phase in his criminal behavior would mark the beginning of his transition from rapist to murderer. In 1990, a breakthrough came when one of his victims managed to escape. A young woman, later identified as Jane Doe, was abducted and taken to a secluded area, where she was sexually assaulted and beaten. Miraculously, she fought back and managed to break free, fleeing into the woods. Jane Doe's bravery would provide law enforcement with a critical description of the attacker and the vehicle he was driving. However, despite this breakthrough, the investigation still failed to gain significant traction. The description was vague, and the suspect remained a shadow. But Jane Doe's escape showed police that this wasn't just a random act. It was the work of a predator who was becoming more dangerous with each passing attack. By the time the Scarborough rapist was finally linked to Paul Bernardo, his escalating violence had already cemented him as a true threat. However, the connection between his early attacks and the murders he would later commit with Karla Homolka wasn't immediately obvious.